Yasas. This is an essay that I wrote on the 8th of June 2012, and it's called On the Song Imagine. When many people hear the song Imagine by John Lennon, they automatically start singing, or at least feel that it presents a positive message and worldview with which they can agree. I, in contrast, see a very dangerous viewpoint in the lyrics, one that may or may not have been intentional, but one which should not be ignored, especially since so many seem to subscribe to this view. In this essay, I will examine the words and their darker side. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. In the first line, he strips the world of religion. While it is certainly true that much death has come about due to the convictions of certain groups that only their beliefs are true and that they must convert others to them, this does not inherently make religion bad. Many people have also died from stabbings, yet most would not argue for a ban on knives of all kinds because of it. Religion, as I have stated in my essay devoted to the topic, plays a very important role in the lives of many people. It not only answers fundamental questions which science cannot answer, but provides them with friends, hope, and even jobs at times. A world without religion is a cold, dark place of loneliness, where there is no hope and nothing better to look forward to upon our deaths. It takes away the mysteries of life and replaces them with the mundane, with us humans at the top of everything. I'm sure I need not elaborate on the problems that last idea can cause. Imagine all the people living for today. This is technically part of the first verse, yet it's so provocative that it deserves its own paragraph. Sadly, the results of this idea can be seen in the attitudes of many people. If it's broken, don't fix it. Throw it away and get a new one. If it's slightly out of date, even if it works, throw it away. After all, you don't want to be seen as having something old, especially when the new version of the product has so many bells and whistles. This blatant disregard for moderation, as has been demonstrated, leads to a society of disposability. Products are now cheaper, but along with that comes horrible quality. Furthermore, this demand for ever cheaper products leads to outsourcing and the loss of domestic jobs. This idea of living for today can also be extended in the ways in which many people treat the environment and act towards the nation. Thanks to our need for immediate satisfaction, we, as a race, have managed to wipe out thousands of species. Gods only know how much land, how many trees, etc., and we just keep on doing it. After all, if you don't worry about tomorrow, you're only focusing on the short term, and in that light, everything is fine. Only it's not going to be for future generations. And those who steal from the nation have also lost the ability to care for the future, being so absorbed in the present and their own selfish gain. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. As if banning religion and consideration of the future weren't enough, these ideas continue to the very notion of country. As anyone who knows me is aware, I hold the idea of country to be among the most important in existence. And I also wrote an essay on it called On Country. As a nationalist, the idea of a world without countries is like one without air or water. Country is what gives us pride, culture, history, and a sense of belonging, not to mention positive competitiveness. By that, I mean that those of us who are true patriots always want to do better than those who came before us in protecting, preserving, and defending our nation. So we study hard, join the military, write books, give lectures, and or even just pass on our knowledge to future generations. The land is sacred, and it belongs to those who love it, not to any foreigner who wishes to make some quick money and leave, or to some union whose members wish to use it for their own means. Needless to say, being that I'm a Greek patriot, I'm referring to Ελλάδα, but I'm sure that others who feel patriotic to their nations would say the same thing about them. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. As before, the previous two lines came from the last verse, but they are tied in with the idea of one world. While I am not strictly a New World Order conspiracist, I do believe that globalization is destroying individual nations and that it's essential to fight against such ideas with all that we know. Otherwise, we could easily fall into the trap of the Brave New World syndrome. If, for the sake of argument, all national borders were eliminated and patriotism was destroyed, it may, indeed, bring peace. But this is a forced peace, a poisoned peace, one that comes from, as he puts it, nothing to kill or die for. No one loves war, but as John Stuart Mill said, war is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling which thinks that nothing is worth war is much worse. The person who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing which is more important than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature, and has no chance of being free unless made and kept so by the exertions of men better than himself. And that is the end of that quote. He also has nothing to bring him true pride, no convictions, since, after all, the problems of the world would supposedly be solved. This means a static existence, with no challenges and where no one can rise above things to become heroic. It leaves no place for earning honor and glory, only the loss of both, and forced sameness. And as an extra note for those of you here on YouTube, I wrote about that in my poems about HAARP and the New World Order and whatnot. There are two poems that come to mind here. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people, sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. On the surface, this sounds great. It would certainly eliminate the society of disposability that I mentioned earlier, and people wouldn't need to worry about money or competing with anyone else. To be fair, there are certain societies which exist without the idea of ownership, but these are few and far between. Humanity has evolved, and with that evolution came the idea of possessing things and of responsibility. If no laws existed pertaining to property, it would then be perfectly legal for someone to enter your home in the middle of the night and sleep on your couch. Furthermore, he could stay there, eating up your food, using up your electricity, and creating a mess all over the place. If he was more dangerous, he could even steal from you or destroy your things, since they wouldn't belong to you, but to everyone, meaning that they would be his as well. Given the abundance of wealth which we now possess, people in such a society would then feel that they were completely entitled not to work at all, and could then live off others. And no, I do not mean it as the American libertarians do. I do not take issue with the needy, the disabled, the elderly, etc. receiving government assistance. I merely mean that everyone could be slackers for no reason at all, other than that they really would have no reason to work, unless the pool of supplies got low. This would destroy any need for innovation, frugality, moderation, and the like. While a society of pure consumerism is bad, so is one of anarchy and total excess. During the revolution of the 21st of April, which technically ended in 1974, the Beatles were banned. Looking at the song by John Lennon, one of its most prominent members, it's easy to see why. These ideas are what's destroying the world today. Peace is good and desirable, as is the idea of selflessness and working within your means. But there needs to be a balance, and it simply cannot be found within this worldview.